In Beijing, President Xi Jinping sits in his office, surrounded by his closest advisors. He feels confident. Over the past decade, China has poured billions into modernizing its military. With 500 nuclear warheads, one of the largest navies in the world, and 2.35 million active soldiers, Xi believes he can challenge the United States. However, he knows a direct attack on America would be reckless. The U.S. has 190 military bases in Japan and South Korea alone, plus a navy that, while smaller, carries unmatched firepower. To succeed, Xi must first dominate the Pacific, clearing a path to the American mainland. The war begins not with missiles, but with stealth. For years, China has honed its cyber warfare skills, infiltrating American infrastructure. Xi launches the first strike, ordering hackers to target U.S. water systems, power grids, and communication networks, especially those near military bases. They also attack companies supplying the U.S. military and disrupt transportation routes used to send aid to Taiwan, a key U.S. ally. Taiwan, long claimed by China, is Xi's primary target. By seizing the island, he aims to break through U.S. allies in the Pacific, like Japan and South Korea, and secure a route to America. Hour 1. Chaos grips the United States. Chinese hackers overwhelm critical systems. The U.S. has faced cyber threats before, but never on this scale. Recent operations uncovered China's control over thousands of small routers used to hide hacking activities. Now, rail networks, water supplies, and pipelines are at risk. The U.S. scrambles to respond, but the widespread attacks buy China precious time. Xi escalates. He activates the People's Liberation Army rocket force with 120,000 troops and 4,000 missiles capable of hitting ships and land targets. Taiwan is the first to feel the onslaught. Missiles rain down, supported by air bases in Longtan, Jianggu, and Huan, where Shenyang J-16 fighters engage Taiwanese defenses. Simultaneously, Xi targets the U.S. Pacific Fleet, a massive force of 200 ships, 1,500 aircraft, and 150,000 personnel. This fleet, spanning from Antarctica to the Arctic, is the biggest obstacle to Xi's plans. The missile strategy unfolds in 3 parts. First, China launches Dongfeng, 26 missiles at U.S. bases in Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. Each missile can travel 2,485 miles, easily reaching its targets. Shorter-range Dongfeng 16 missiles join the barrage to preserve the longer-range ones for distant strikes. Second, more Dongfeng, 26 missiles target Guam, hitting Andersen Air Force Base and Naval Base Guam. Xi also unleashes the hypersonic Dongfeng 27 missile, capable of reaching Hawaii and evading U.S. defenses. Third, China attacks U.S. ships in the Pacific, focusing on cruisers like the USS Shiloh and USS Mobile Bay, armed with heavy weapons and strong anti-air systems. Destroyers, less powerful but numerous, are secondary targets. Xi knows he cannot destroy every ship, but every hit weakens America's response. The U.S. detects the missile launches through its Space Force satellites. President Joe Biden mobilizes defenses, including 44 ground-based interceptors, with 40 in Alaska and 4 in California. Advisors assure him the missiles are conventional, not nuclear, as their paths target Pacific bases in Hawaii, not mainland cities. Biden orders troops to evacuate strike zones and rely on missile defenses. Japan and South Korea activate their own systems, developed with the U.S. to protect American bases. Many missiles are shot down, but the sheer volume overwhelms defenses. Okinawa, a key U.S. hub in Japan, is devastated. Missiles destroy F-15 Eagle fighters, E-3 Sentry planes, and KC-135 Stratotankers, crippling America's ability to refuel aircraft mid-air. Thousands of U.S. troops die, though the bases remain partially operational. At sea, U.S. ships evade missiles by moving unpredictably. China destroys half of America's 9 cruisers and dozens of destroyers, a partial victory. In Hawaii, Dongfeng 27 and Dongfeng 26 missiles break through California's defenses, sinking ships like the USS Frank E. Peterson and USS Hopper. However, U.S. submarines in Hawaii dive underwater, safe from the barrage. By the end of the first hours, China has used a quarter of its missiles, wreaking havoc on U.S. bases and weakening the Pacific Fleet. The cyber attacks slow America's response, but Japan and South Korea, hit by stray missiles, join the war against China. Day 2. With the U.S. reeling, Xi turns to Taiwan. Short-range missiles pound the island, targeting its smaller surrounding islands. Taiwan's U.S.-made Patriot systems and Skybow defenses hold strong, but the relentless barrage weakens them. Xi plans to send ground troops soon, avoiding friendly fire. The attacks on U.S. bases in Hawaii delay America's Navy from reaching the Taiwan Strait, while China's air bases keep Taiwan's Air Force busy. However, landing troops is tricky. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has fortified the island, The East Coast cliffs deter a full invasion, though Xi blockades it with his navy. The West Coast, closer to China, is heavily defended with 15 ports on high alert, ready to be destroyed if China approaches. Beaches are fortified with barbed wire, shallow mines, and anti-landing spikes. Roads to Taipei can be collapsed, forcing Chinese troops into grueling terrain. Tsai's strategy is to exhaust China's forces. Day 3. The U.S. prepares to strike back, but Biden first exploits China's economic weakness. China relies on $2.56 trillion in imports, including 11.8 million barrels of oil daily. Biden secures sanctions from allies, cutting China off from the U.S., Europe, and oil suppliers like Saudi Arabia. Russia, supplying 19% of China's oil, cannot fill the gap, especially with its own sanctions from the Ukraine war. Xi faces a ticking clock. Without resources, China must win quickly or collapse. Day 4. Biden invokes NATO's Article 5, which treats an attack on one member as an attack on all. China's strikes on Hawaii and U.S. bases trigger this clause, bringing 31 nations into the war. The focus is the Taiwan Strait, where Xi's missile barrage failed to conquer Taiwan. His troops face brutal beach combat and urban warfare in Taipei. Biden rallies NATO, Japan, South Korea, and Australia, whose U.S. bases were spared. A fleet, including 11 U.S. aircraft carriers, the UK's HMS Queen Elizabeth, Canada's frigates, and Japan's destroyers, sails to the Taiwan Strait. South Korea monitors North Korea, preventing it from exploiting the chaos. Week 2. Xi's Taiwan invasion stalls. Taiwanese defenses and allied navies decimate his landing attempts. Roads and tunnels are destroyed, forcing Chinese troops into deadly terrain. The U.S. and NATO arrive, supported by Japan's destroyers. China's navy, though larger, lacks America's firepower. The U.S. deploys its Rapid Dragon tactic, using cargo planes to drop pallets of cruise missiles. These overwhelm China's missile defenses, allowing targeted strikes on ships and air bases. China's Longtan, Jianggu, and Huan bases are crippled, grounding fighters. Month 2. China loses control of the Taiwan Strait. Taiwanese F-16s, though outmatched by China's J-20s, delay the enemy until U.S. and NATO forces arrive. 8 U.S. aircraft carriers, each penalized carrying 75 fighters each, give the Allies air superiority. Rapid Dragon missiles and Allied strikes destroy Chinese ships and bases. China's troops in Taiwan are cut off, trapped in urban combat, or attacked by U.S. forces landing on the island. China's navy weakens with only patrol boats and a few frigates left. The U.S. loses 2 aircraft carriers to Chinese submarines, but America's better-trained submarine crews sink China's carriers, neutralizing their air power. Month 3. China's navy is in ruins and Xi faces defeat. He considers nuclear weapons, with 500 warheads and missiles like the DF-41 capable of hitting the U.S. mainland. However, America's submarines and bombers could retaliate, devastating China. With Taiwan unconquered, NATO and Asian allies united, and sanctions starving China's economy, Xi surrenders. The U.S. wins, but its navy is battered, and rebuilding will take years. NATO imposes restrictions on China, proving the strength of allied defense. This scenario favors the U.S., but could China avoid this outcome? Would NATO and Asian allies fully support America? Share your thoughts below and check out videos on the U.S. Navy's strategy against China.